Narcan saves lives. Narcan has saved my own life.
Everyone should be carrying Narcan. It reverses an opioid overdose.
It's easy to get. It's almost at any pharmacy. You don't have to be 18, and you don't need a prescription.
It is saving lives every single day.
Hi, and welcome back to another episode of the Financial Fit Podcast. I am your host, Andre Creighton. As always, I'm excited to be with you all today and share some of my knowledge around startups, small business. This is the podcast where we help small business owners and startup founders get their finance in shape so their business can go the distance. And I mean that. I always talk about how this is a marathon, not a sprint. But hopefully, we are giving you the building blocks to help build that foundation for your business that can help you continue to push your business forward and continue to grow and scale that business. So, if you've been following along, as of recent, we've kind of shifted from talking a lot about personal finance into more of business finance and how to run a business and a lot of the intricacies that cross over at that intersection of finance and strategy, right? So, we talked about the business fitness test in episode one. We talked about bootstrapping like a pro. And then the last episode, we talked about business credit and banking, which is very important. But today, we are going to talk about how you get to building a budget. So today, it's time to flex some money muscles. We're going to build your very first budget. Think of this as your training plan. Like most individuals, when they are getting ready to go to the gym, maybe they get with a trainer, or maybe they look online, they find a training regimen, and they pull that training plan together. They're excited, and then they go out and then they execute it, right? So the workout routine is really, what makes the finances stronger and more disciplined and ready to perform when it matters most. So we want to be very, very intentional about our budgeting and understanding how that drives the growth within our business. So here's the thing. Most businesses don't fail because they lack ideas or hustle. They fail because the money slipped through the cracks. Uh, the reality is that a really strong budget tool or having a budget can help prevent that. And that's why it matters. That's why budgeting matters. A good budget does really four things. It gives you control. Uh, you know, it allows you really to understand where your money is going and allows you to take over really that control of the money and you driving where every single dollar goes instead of wondering really where it is. The second is it reveals reality. Are your goals realistic or are you dreaming without a plan, right? Those are the things that I've uncovered when I've done multiple budgets, especially as a startup founder. You go through so many different iterations of a budget. And the reality is if you're just starting out with the company, it's like throwing a dart at a wall, right? Like you if you don't have historicals to really drive that budget, then you have to go based off of assumptions, right? But the reality is that those assumptions have to be right. So what I say is like budgets aren't perfect, but budgets are a guide, right? And as we continue to collect more data points and get more information, then we will start to build an even more, uh, I guess, accurate, realistic budget that can help drive us forward. Number three, it supports decision making. So um, when you can afford to hire, expand, and invest, right? That's what budgeting gives you. It allows you to make those really tough decisions and to really be calculated about them. Does that mean that it's going to be perfect? Does that mean that you're gonna hire someone and it's not going to work out? Yeah, that's possible, right? Does that mean that you're going to invest into something and it's going to fail? Yeah, that's potentially right. But the reality is that the budget gives you the ability to make sound decisions that, at least you can go back if something does fail, you can understand why I made that decision, right? And what drove that decision, right? So, really budgeting is all about a collection of data points, in my opinion. Number four, it builds protection for slow seasons and unexpected bills. There's a lot of things that come unexpectedly, right? I think about people, what we're experiencing currently with our current administration, right? And tariffs. I think there's a lot of back and forth, and we're seeing like threats of tariffs, and then there's like a pause, and then there's another threat, right? So like that really gives us it makes it really hard for us to be able to budget. And so we want to be able to, if we create a budget, we want to be able to have that protection and know that if we have a seasonal business, that we're going to be able to make it through. If there's unexpected things that come to fruition, that we're able to kind of weather that storm. So next, we're going to talk about the 5 steps to build your first budget. So number one is know your baseline numbers. Look at your last 3 to 6 months of expenses. Write down everything: rent, software, supplies, payroll, subscriptions, whatever it may be. We want to write those things down, and we want to pull them into whatever source we're using for creating our budget, whether that's Excel or maybe it's a budgeting tool. But we don't want to guess. We want to be honest with ourselves. And the more that we can be honest with ourselves, the more that we are going to be um, a step closer to that accurate budget. Number two is forecast your revenue. And I always say, you want to be conservative when it comes to forecasted revenue. You want to estimate conservatively. So base it on real data if you have it. If you don't have it, the golden rule is to budget to your average month, not your best month, right? So you want to budget towards your average month, not your best month. Because what we don't know is, like, while it's great that you had a great month, right? We don't know if that's an outlier, right? We want to see the consistency across numerous periods. So taking that average is kind of the best rule of thumb. Number three is separate your fixed and variable costs. So fixed is like our steady, like our rent, our insurance, our salaries. Like typically those are fixed and like they don't change, right? Variable is those that are flexible. So marketing, travel, inventory, these are the ones that change over time based on the volume, right? Maybe one month we're running a big marketing campaign and there's a lot of opportunity out in the market, right? Our marketing spend is going to be a little higher, right, than maybe recent months. Maybe we're flying out and we're doing a bunch of trade shows in Q1. Uh, so travel is going to be higher in Q1, or maybe the demand for our inventory uh, has grown, and now we're having to pull in and keep more inventory on hand to make sure that we are able to satisfy our orders, right? Those are the variable costs that ultimately we have to be able to measure, and we have to be able to understand, and really going back to our unit metrics and how those variable costs affect our unit metrics and how that's driving our business forward. So your job, really is to protect, the fixed costs and manage the variable costs. And you want to manage those variable costs like hawk. Like it's so important. Number four, prioritize essentials first. So we want to cover operating costs first. The first thing is, obviously keeping the lights on, just like at your home, right? You're going to pay your mortgage first. You're going to make sure your utilities are paid, right? Maybe if you have a car, you're going to sure your car gets paid so you can get to and from work, right? No difference in, really with your business. We want to cover those operating costs first, and make sure that we keep the lights on. The next is set aside, 25 to 35% of profits for taxes. That's a safe rule of thumb. Now, there could be some flexibility on either side of the spectrum there from a tax perspective, but we want to make sure that we're budgeting for those things. And then pay yourself. So even a modest amount, I think it's so important where, a lot of owners or founders don't pay themselves. And I think the reality is it gives you something to grow towards, right? So maybe you only pay yourself $100 one month because you're a brand new business, right? And maybe next month you've had some profit increase and now you can pay yourself 500 and so forth and so on, right? So um, owners should pay themselves. Growth expenses come after necessities are secured. So a lot of times, like I think for a long time, specifically in software companies, we've been at this place of grow at all costs, right? Like by any means necessary, we're going to grow. And I think we've started to move away from that. And the reality is that we need to make sure that our essentials are taken care of first, because that is the foundation of our business. If our people aren't paid, if our lights aren't on, if our rent isn't taken care of, it's extremely hard for us to focus on growth, right? So make sure those are taken care of first, and then we'll move on to growth. The last one is we want to build a cushion. If you listen to any of my episodes prior where we talked about personal finance, I always talk about having 3 to 6 months of liquid cash available for emergencies, specifically around the necessities that you need within your life, right? The same holds true when it comes to your business. We want to save 5 to 10% of every revenue, 5 to 10% of revenue every month into two buckets. One should be an emergency fund for unexpected expenses or slow months. And then two should be a growth fund. Now, I'm not telling you that you need to have these in like a savings account. What I'm saying is like we want to make sure that we are building towards having, um, understanding that having an emergency fund and having a growth fund. And that could be in a money market, that could be in a checking account, that could be in other investment vehicles, but we want to make sure that we're building towards that. That's how you create sound business operations. Um, so practical frameworks, I want to talk about this a little bit. So one of the frameworks that they talk about a lot is the 50/30/20 rule. And the 50/30/20 rule is the needs, 30% is your growth, and 20% is your savings and taxes, right? So most times this applies on a personal level, but I'm going to evolve this into also our business side of things. So 50% is our needs, is our operations, right? 30% is our marketing and expansion, and then 20% is our savings and taxes, right? So if we use that framework, we don't have to use that, but this is just a rule of thumb maybe for some very small business owners or running more of a lifestyle business and really just wanting to kind of build something for their family and pass it on down through generations. So, and then the other one is zero base budgeting. So every dollar has a job. Nothing is floating. So, um, I like the thought of this, but I think that people interpret this the wrong way. This doesn't mean that every dollar needs to be spent. It means that every dollar needs to be allocated. And that could mean like, hey, some of that allocation is going towards, you know, operations, some is going towards growth, some is going towards investments, some is going towards expansion, right? Uh, we want to make sure that we have a clear view of like what is our strategy to scale and grow the business. And sometimes zero-based budgeting allows us to be able to do that a lot quicker. So as I do on most episodes, you know, I want to provide you with some reflection exercises for throughout the week. So here's your money muscle workout for the week. I want you to take 30 minutes, grab your numbers, and I want you to list your fixed expenses. I want you to list your variable expenses. I want you to compare both against your average monthly revenue, and I want you to ask yourself, does this budget make sense or is my money running me? Okay? I'll say that one more time. I want you to ask yourself, Does this budget make sense, or is my money running me? Okay. The goal, at the end of the day is really simple. We want to build a plan you can stick to and adjust as you go, and ultimately want you to be able to flex your financial strength. So, as I close, your budget is your training plan. It sticks with you. It stays if you stay within discipline, and it will build financial endurance for your business. You know, I can't say that more. Like, it's really important for us to be maniacal every single day towards our goals, and to realize that this is a marathon, not a sprint. So as long as we are sticking with our plan, we're staying disciplined, we will continue to build the endurance that we're needed to run our business. So let's talk about next week. Next week, we're moving into growth phase. So, revenue reps, landing your first 100 customers. That's where we'll break down practical strategies to generate revenue and build traction. If this episode today helped you, and share it with another founder. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast, so you never miss a step in your financial fitness journey. Remember, money muscles don't grow overnight, but every rep counts. Let's get financially fit together, because it's not about how much money you make. The power is in how much money you keep. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I'm your host, Andre Creighton. I look forward to speaking with you on the next episode of Financially Fit.
You know Shaletta makes you laugh, but did you know Shaletta Brundage can also make you think and boost your business? Media personality, activist, and comedian Shaletta Brundage founded Shaletta Makes Me Laugh to celebrate and share the best of Black culture. It's a podcasting platform. You can download 10 weekly podcasts hosted by African-American subject experts at ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com is also a production house, creating broadcast-quality commercial content. And Shaletta and her team of storytellers create powerful promotional campaigns to get businesses the brand awareness they're looking for. Some of Minnesota's top businesses trust Shaletta, and you can too. Get out the word about your events and products and get in front of communities of color with ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com. She's got the power to help your business.
To keep my home running smooth, I count on Xfinity Internet. With 99.9% reliability, we're all online at once. No slowdowns. The Xfinity app lets me manage our Wi-Fi and keep things secure. Xfinity makes it easy.